and welcome to the Tourism Chat Show. I'm Michelle, the host of the show, and today I've got a few very special guests joining me. So go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
Hi everyone, my name's Adele. I am the owner of New Zealand Educational Tours, based here in the not-so-sunny Tauranga.
Kia ora, it's Chambers and I'm based in the very sunny Cairns and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Cairns Adventure Group.
G'day, Garth from Terranova from Tongariro River Rafting.
Yeah, g'day, John here from, Terranova Tours and the Green Spot, couple of vendors we run in New Zealand.
Hey guys, welcome and thank you for joining me. Today is our very special Christmas episode, and as you can tell just by the introductions, it probably is going to get a little bit chaotic. But anyway, it's great to have you all tuning in. We wanted to get together today to kind of talk about how 2024 has gone for all of us. There's been a lot of change go on personally and professionally for some more than others. I'm looking at you, Chambers, but we'll get to that. But we're going to kick straight into the episode. And yeah, thanks for joining us. So let's kick off. I'm going to start with you, John. Looking back on 2024, what would you say was the highlight of your year?
I'd have to say, like the last year as well, one of the key things has been the connection with our supplier partners. It's been great. And in 2023, there was a lot of connection back. But this year, our supplier partners seem to be connecting back with us, which is great. And there's been some really good industry events, some great familiars we've been hosted on, and it just feels like old times. So I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. And Garth, what about you from a tourism operator perspective?
Well, I guess for us has actually been the movement and the move into our new base. It's just been huge, and I can't believe how we managed to operate out of that shoebox that we were in for 32 years. And yeah, so now we're in the new base and we've got space. Everything is just so much easier, and it's amazing, really is.
Yeah, and it looks great too. So anybody who hasn't been through Turangi, or if you're coming through Turangi over the summer, pop in and see Garth. I'm sure he'll love to see you there. Del, what's been your highlight of 2024?
I've probably mentioned ad nauseum is the fact that I have moved back into an office. I have my old staff back. We've been very busy. Highlight really for me was winning the Small Inbound Tour Operator of the Year award this year. I felt really amazed about that. I felt very humbled, and I was so excited, and I just thank everybody for voting for us for that. So that was my highlight.
Yeah, that was awesome, actually. God, that's only a couple of months ago, but that seems like a long time ago. It's been a busy few months. But, I guess the theme around, particularly from the New Zealand side of things, because we'll get to you in a minute, Chambers, but is that we feel like we're probably getting back to a little bit more normal, right? So is that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so Chambers, over to you. You've had a massive year, and I'm going to ask you some more specific questions about this as we go on. But if you can just look at one highlight of your very big year, what would that be?
Having you lot over for my wedding. Yeah, that was definitely, oh my God, the biggest highlight, definitely, for sure. And I don't think I'll top it for probably another decade.
Yeah, it was a pretty big party. I don't know that you really want to have one of those parties every year.
Well, I would, but I don't, I'm not sure everybody would come. The festival of Lisa and Ben, yeah.
Yes, no, it was a brilliant celebration. Have any of you had any specific challenges or low points in 2024 that you want to share?
I'll just throw something out there. I find headed into the pandemic, it wasn't like this, where some hoteliers, accommodation suppliers are now insisting that we pay a non-refundable deposit, even 6 months or a year out. And honestly, it's happening. And there's others that have said it as well. And, no way in the world do you want to do that, especially having been through the pandemic. Non-refundable, you don't get your money back. And I've argued, and it's happening quite a lot, to be, and I just won't do it. So therefore I have to then go and find some more accommodation. And I don't know why, because pre-COVID that I was ever asked for a non-refundable deposit. It's just 6 months out.
Interesting, isn't it? I'm surprised that's happening for trade. I actually had an instance when I was up in Auckland last month and booked myself into a hotel in the wrong year. So I actually booked for 2025 instead of 2024, and it's non-refundable, even though it's 12 months out. So yeah, I was a little bit annoyed about that. But 17th of November next year, I'm going to be back in Auckland.
Is anyone else
that's
finding
ridiculous.
that? Are you finding that, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to make sure we're checking a lot of what the terms are and being really careful about it. So it is an extra layer of administration, I guess, we have to go through and just double checking things.
Cool. Is this thing in other countries? Like I haven't heard this over here. I don't know that for fact. I'm not in the accommodation sector, obviously, but I haven't heard people complaining about it within our industry, and the boards I sit on, I've not heard that.
I mean, I totally understand. And I did not know names. Big hotel in Queenstown.
This is a Christmas episode.
In Queenstown. And I said, look, I'm really happy. The group's not coming till next year. I'm happy to pay a deposit, but I'm not paying a non-refundable. No, a year out. It's like, I mean, of course, we haven't even got the money from the clients a year out as a rule. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's up to every individual business to set their terms and conditions, right? And if it works for them and it works, that's great. If they might find that they're not getting much business in advance, though, if that happens, if they make it too strict for people and too tight. So you might see some changes happen. Okay, let's move right along. What's one key thing that you've learned this year that you think will shape your work in the tourism industry moving forward? Garth, I'm looking at you for that one.
Oh, crikey. I'm not quite sure, Michelle. I think things are looking pretty good. I am a bit worried about the domestic side of things, about what's going to happen there. I'm not sure there's one thing that's going to, maybe I could show a bit more leg on the main road or something like that. That might help tourism. I don't know. But
well, it's going to be closed for 6 weeks over summer, so maybe not.
That's a good time. Yeah, look, I'm not sure. I think we just keep, it's just a game on, and we keep pushing forward, and there's nothing that's really broken for us. So it's not necessarily changing things in a big way. It's just keeping an eye on those indicators and working forward.
Cool. And Chambers, what's happening in Aussie? Are you seeing any standout travel trends or customer behaviours that you've observed over there that is a little bit different to previous years?
Yeah, well, look, we had an amazing year in 2023 with Australian domestics traveling in their own country because there wasn't the capacity or the aviation connectivity to go elsewhere. But as aviation has come on board, which we've welcomed for inbound travel, we've then, of course, seen, sadly, the Australians who absolutely love traveling outbound, heading outbound. So that's had a real hit on that domestic travel for us. And has it been replaced with the inbound international? No, not to that level yet. But it is positive for 2025. And look, for this particular region, tropical North Queensland punches above its weight in terms of visitor expectation and spend. So we've got some really amazing connectivity. And look, I'm really looking forward to the Jetstar connection from the South Island of Aotearoa and seeing all the Kiwis coming over and spending some time in the sunshine. And hopefully they don't all think it's Gold Coast only for Australia, and hopefully they'll come and visit Cairns. That's our plan anyway. But yeah, look, we will see the inbound come back. It will be slow and steady, but it hasn't matched the loss of the Australian domestic tourism and visitation that we lost or saw this year.
So what international markets are performing really well for your region?
So specifically US is really great, and with the new connectivity with Fiji Airways, that we now will have direct flights from Cairns stopping Fiji, but carrying on. You can go to LA within 14 hours from Cairns, so door to door.
Cool.
So that's pretty amazing. That really opens up that US market. But we're seeing that US market as well, seeing some great return from India. China's not going to be as strong this year. There's just not the great, it was good last year, but it's not going to be the same this year, I don't think. And we still haven't seen that ADS travel coming back either. It's all high-end FIT, which is actually not a bad thing. And there's a lot of them and they do like to spend. So that's pretty good. Yeah, UK, Europe, pretty slow coming back. Their cost of living crisis is killing them in terms of travel. So they're really looking to travel close to home and on those cheap deals that they get to Greece and Turkey and the package deals that they get, understandably so. But yeah, that's probably the main key markets. And of course, New Zealand is looking like it's set to be one of the very key markets for us. Business event space, definitely for tropical North Queensland, there's a lot of interest. And obviously the Kiwis love Port Douglas. So yeah, we look forward to welcoming them back.
Yeah, awesome. And John, if you had to describe the state of tourism in 2024 in 3 words, what would they be and why?
It's a good question, Michelle.
Can I just say, are you going to manage 3 words?
Yeah, well, 3 words. As I was just thinking that. I was thinking, having watched John sit on the Game of Two Halves panel at the Tourism Export Council Christmas Symposium, I know that, what is it? Conciseness, succinctness probably isn't his strength.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. And I resemble that comment. But for me this year, what I've learned is what I haven't learned from 2024, and I've heard this from a lot of other small business players, and we're still struggling to find out how to switch off and how to get time out from the business, and that for me has been a big part of 2024. So I think we're still not quite there yet as an industry, or a lot of us, and still full on, and there's some pretty tired people out there. So. To everyone out there, here's to a great Christmas and hope you all get to have a little bit of time out at least.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's one of the things I did notice at the symposium last week is that everybody seemed to be feeling a little bit burnt out after what's been a pretty big year. And I think most of the operators now are starting to get back to some kind of normal staffing levels, but it's taken them a while, and everybody's just running really madly and just seemed really quite tired and a bit exhausted after the year. Is that fair to say?
Oh, no,
yeah, I think that's very fair. It's taken us 3 years to rebuild, to have anywhere near a semblance of what we were previous to COVID, just with staff ability. And so it's been a long, hard haul, and then you throw in what we've done here. And I mentioned the building before. We did 10 70-hour weeks to move in. So yeah, it certainly feels like I'd quite like to stop, and we haven't even really started summer yet. So well, we have. It's it's been busy, and that's good. But I'm with you, John. I think we've done a lot of hard yards, and everyone in tourism, and to get back to that point where you can take some time out would be quite nice.
Yeah.
Ask, are you guys looking at numbers pre-2019, or are you comparing numbers to 2019 over in New Zealand? Where are you guys all sitting in that sense?
For me, forget it. Forget pre-pandemic and trying to compare with that. Done with that. It's so hard to pick the trends. Not just, what the volume will be, what growth might be or not, and also at what time of the year will the bookings come through and all this. It's changed so much. I do a lot of looking back at where we were, and I've just got to stop because it's so different.
Do you think that will settle down, John, or do you think that's just how, we're coming into a new wave of booking patterns, or is it just what it is?
I think we've got to get over what the numbers were pre-pandemic. And just, it's a new world and get on with it. There's a lot of differences now. For our work, we do a lot of stuff out of Europe, out of Germany. That's a country that's got some financial stress and different patterns. But having said that, my business partner, when he's up in that market, he's getting really, really positive feedback. So, we're excited about the future, but it's still just really hard to pick where it's going to go.
Awesome. So, Del, as we approach 2025, what's something you're excited to work on in the new year?
Question. I'm going back to what John and Garth said, looking after myself when I hit the next year, because I'm absolutely knackered, absolutely exhausted after this year, and I need to, and my staff. But what am I looking forward to? I have some new markets. We've, in the sense that a lot of our stuff's different from pre-COVID. Hong Kong has come back with a vengeance, Singapore, and I've got quotes from countries that I've never, mainly Asian countries, and then working with Australia, because pre-COVID we never worked with Australia, but we are now. Students coming in, maybe because they're not booking themselves here, they're letting an inbound operator do it. It's hard to see, really. I need to look after myself and the staff to help the business go through, because it has been a hell of a year. And also I think it's a bit nerve-wracking when you hear what's going on, and no money for tourism, New Zealand, TNZ losing money, and not having the same funding, and then maybe charges coming on here, and charges, and that I find that really unnerving. The other thing I find really unnerving is the fact what happens if the dollar increases, because we're going to become really expensive. That's what worries me. So.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably a real risk that we're facing in the next 12 months. But yeah, definitely. Chambers, are you finding similar pressures, particularly around the domestic market? I know probably not so much for Adele and John, but Garth maybe a little bit. Over the winter this year, it was pretty tough for a lot of New Zealand operators here, just because through the winter months we rely a lot on mainly Australian, more in the South Island, but a lot of domestic business that just didn't have as much money in their pockets to spend. Did you see those? Are you seeing those pressures over there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the cost of living crisis is across the world, isn't it? And everyone's sitting it and struggling with it. I think that's part and parcel as to why we didn't get that domestic travel back here this year in the same amounts. It's not just the fact that they were going outbound, but outbound was incredibly cheap holidays. You could go to Bali for 5 nights with accommodation and breakfast and God knows what else chucked in it, basically 2 nights accommodation here, or not even, maybe even only 1. So when you're comparing things like that, it's tough, and there are some certain areas of Australia that are doing it tougher than others for sure. But and look, everything's expensive as well over here. Like even just our tour tickets and how much they've increased. It's not been a usual 3% CPI as such. Sometimes it's been up to 7%. It's like a big increase and a big jump, and that's hard, especially when you're working with your trade partners. That's really hard pill to swallow. So look, it's been a real mixed bag for sure. It's not dire straight, but it's been tough. It's tough. And, I'm listening to you guys, and I really do feel for you, because in tropical North Queensland, this is our downtime, right? So this is quieter time. And this will be the difference between having international here and having domestic. We've got some great, strong forward bookings, but nothing like we would normally have over the Christmas period if the US market was here in full bound. Look, our business owners are saying similar stuff that they're tied to, but I know you're about to pick up into your busy season. This is mad season for you guys. And to hear you all saying you're exhausted and you're looking forward to looking after yourselves, well, make sure you do, because that's really, really important. There's a great house over here in Cairns that you can come and hang out by the pool if you need to. So,
I can vouch for that. And Chambers has got a couple of friends who live just down the road who make some really good cocktails.
Yes, we do.
So I'm sure they would be on speed dial if you did go over. So look, Garth, 2024 was a busy year for adventure operators. What trends have you seen in adventure tourism, especially when we look at the family market, which is a big focus for you?
Yeah, well, actually, if it weren't for the international market, the Aussies and the Singaporeans this year, we would have actually had a really tough winter. Winter was a bit slow anyway, with all the twos and goings and comings and bits and pieces that were going on with the mountain, with Whakapapa and Turawa. We didn't really have that massive draw card to the region that we would normally have in winter, and we definitely felt that. So if it weren't for the internationals, winter would have actually been pretty tough.
And we've had you on the show. You were one of our very early guests on this show where we talked about customer service, customer experience. And I know that's a really big focus for you in your business. How do you keep innovating and adapting your offerings to meet the changing consumer expectations?
Oh, I'm not sure that we actually do continue to innovate. I think you have to have a really good base. And I think, the two things that we use is our base for customer service, the fish philosophy with the Pike Street Fish Market in Seattle, and Mum's Rules, which I've explained to you before, which is all about my mother's time at Rangiruru Girls in Christchurch, where when they sat down for a meal, they weren't allowed to ask for anything. It had to be offered. And so we continue to do that with our staff. We're about to do it again next week with our new lot of staff through the door, where we'll go out for dinner and no one can ask for anything. It has to be ordered and done by somebody else. So it's pretty interesting when you see these big rough river guides feeding each other across the table, because river guides chambers will always take it to the extreme, won't they? But
Skydivers were bad, Garth. My God.
it's just a bit of fun, and I think there's some really simple basic things that you can do that mean that you actually don't have to continually innovate. You just wow people with that time they get with other human beings. I think that's all we want. We all crave to be accepted in a new place, so you just keep going.
Yeah, awesome. And Del, what are you observing about how schools or students are prioritising travel experiences at the moment in your business?
I think that's what they are doing. I don't think they're going to school. I think they want to travel, especially Europeans, Germans, Italians, not so much the South Americans. They haven't really come back. But it's like part of me kind of feels like it's like they're trying to catch up because of the pandemic. But they want to travel. I mean, having spoken to chambers about, I'll send some people to Cairns. They want to travel. They're here. The only thing that irritates me is they come here for a year and they say, I want to go to Fiji and I want to go to Australia. I say, have you been to the South Island? Oh, no. Which truly happens, not that often, but there seems to be an urge to do as much. When they were just kind of laid back, but not anymore. No, maybe that's what the pandemic has done, to be fair.
Well, they talked a lot about that kind of revenge travel, didn't they? And making up for all of those moments that you missed out on through those years where we weren't able to travel. So I guess you're probably still catching up on that a little bit from a
their sisters would have travelled, their brothers would have travelled, their friends would have travelled, so they just want to make the most of it, so.
Yeah. And have you had any particularly memorable or rewarding trips that you've had to organise this year? Anything special happen out on the road?
Memorable, how can I say that now? Because of problems more than anything. I think, it's different, especially with our kids, because they're so enthusiastic. They're always fun to be with, always. But then we ran a garden tour from America this year. They were from Hawaii. And they had a great time, and the feedback was amazing. And we put our own slant, even though, on those kind of things. So, and that was really good. And the feedback, in all honesty, it's when you read the feedback, we get everyone to do feedback. And I mean, and positive wise, brilliant. But I'm going to have to say, I've just got 2 tours finished today, which were not particularly positive, and we won't go into that here. But anyway, we're in a job, all of us, in a job where we put smiles on people's faces. That's what we want to do. And if we do it well and we look after people that we take and we do as much as we can, then it's great. When you're taking 16 and 17-year-olds out, there are always issues.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of responsibility in that as well. And we'll talk to John. He's carrying kind of probably people at the other end of the age spectrum, a little bit to what you are, but there's still a lot of responsibility in looking after people, but particularly when they're that young, that, there's a lot more boxes that you probably have to check.
It's kind of different because they live here, so we don't have to worry about them looking the wrong way in the road or any of that kind of stuff. They're already saying sweet as, and sure. By the time they get to us, even though they couldn't speak much English when they arrived. So it's kind of different kind of problems. But we all have to do that. If we don't do that, my feeling is we don't put ourselves out and make sure we do look after all our clients. then we won't have a business.
Yeah. And John, you and Philip have been traveling around a little bit this year and into some of the international markets. What are you seeing in terms of interest and opportunities for New Zealand?
Yeah, there remains a lot of opportunities. It is quite exciting. But some of the trends that I've noticed, and this is more of our more experienced clients that have come to New Zealand many times on tours or done a bit of tour planning, they're starting to follow the path of least resistance. Some of them are. So, you know, a year ago, we found a lot that said, I don't want to go on the ferry anymore across Cook Strait. So they're finding another way to do that. We've now got clients that are thinking, well, we'll just spend a bit more time in Queenstown. We won't bother going down the west coast because it's getting a bit hard. So that's quite concerning, and I think it's it's good for us to be aware of it, and it's a reminder for us that we need to remove barriers to travelling throughout New Zealand. The regions are going to start losing business. And it's just really important, I think, for the government to understand that we need to remove barriers and not put barriers in. Because ultimately I can see what's going to happen, that if New Zealand gets too hard or too expensive, these travellers are going to go somewhere else. And I think that's really important, Minister Ducey and Minister Potaka.
I agree.
Yeah. No,
I
good
agree,
point
John.
there. Yeah, one of the things that I didn't put in the notes to you guys, but I think is of real heightened importance, particularly at the moment and what's happened in the last few days, is it's not just the additional charges that are being looked at and what they're planning on doing on the dock estate, but it's also the funding of RTOs is a massive one as well. How do you see, I'll throw to you first, John, but how do you see that affecting the ecosystem of tourism in New Zealand if we start losing RTOs and that funding through councils?
Yeah, look, there's just a big education process that we continually need to do. I remember during the pandemic, one of the businesses interviewed in Queenstown was a guy that repaired the broken windscreens on cars. And he said his business had dropped 80%. And I just thought that was such a good example. When self-drive tourism stops, you know, we are all affected. And councils need to understand the value of tourism for so many different businesses, not just the obvious ones like, you know, river rafting in a hotel. It's blindingly obvious to us, but how do we help, you know, other members of our community understand the benefit?
It's just like, you know, the road in the State Highway 1 being closed, right, in January, and it's a pain in the neck. But do you know about the chocolate eclair shop in Oakden? Right, so what are they doing? They're building themselves up. They're really excited because they're going to get all these people through.
And they never even used to open in summer.
And there's a lot, and I've been reading there are other places. Oh, well, you know, we've got 6 weeks. We've got a captive market. But as you say, John, that's not going to be seen by Minister Ducey or any of those. They don't even understand that. And that's the thing about tourism. And that's just a classic example. It's like when the Lewis Pass, when the Kakura Road, the State Highway 1 was closed, and all those little businesses on the way down through the middle, they made money, you know. I just wish they would understand, and it is a problem, and I don't know how we're going to make them, to be fair. I don't know how we're going to deal with it.
It's going to be really interesting because I think we'll still get in Turangi the southbound traffic, but the northbound traffic that turns off at Wairuru because they can't come up State Highway 1 and gets to National Park, people will have a look on Google Maps and say, well, actually, we can go straight ahead and out through Tamaranui and out to 8 Mile Junction and then up through Tikawiti. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what people are saying by the end of February as to the effects of that as a downturn here and maybe a massive up for those other towns.
Yeah, that's right.
But interestingly enough, I was talking to Spud over at Schnapp's Hotel today, and National Park's going gangbusters. He's doing 250 covers a night.
Wow.
At Schnapp's in the restaurant, which, you know, I was surprised at. You know, there's not a lot of
There's not that many beds in town.
No, well, that's right. And he's hauling ass, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool to see.
That is really cool. And it's interesting what you say there on that northbound traffic, because if that is the case, that will not only affect you and Turangi, but it will affect Taupo as well. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, because they'll go around the other side of the lake.
Yeah. Well, not even that, Michelle. They'll just go out through Tamaranui and then up the other side. They'll miss out the western side of the lake.
Yeah.
Unless they specifically want to come back.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and John, I hear through a little birdie that you asked one of your favourite staff members today for a little anecdote to see if there were any client standout experiences for the year. Did you come up with anything?
Oh, there's just so many. I went around the whole team. Some were helpful, some weren't. But one of the really good stories we had was we've got one tour that includes flight seeing on the West Coast, and it's an inclusive. And I don't, you probably haven't heard, but they had a little problem with the road there recently, and so there's a few tours that couldn't get to do their helicopter flight. And it was a bit of a major for our clients. They're really upset about that. And we managed to organise another flight for them over the Tasman Glacier on the other side of the Alps. And the feedback we got was amazing. And that one little flight that we managed to do, it actually made up for all the damage from not being able to do Franz Josef and the flight seeing and all that. So I love those stories where there's a bit of a situation and we turn it into an opportunity, and then we get the real positive feedback at the end. That was cool.
Yep. And that's one of the cool things I think about the tourism industry, isn't it? Is that we all pull together in those moments of crises or when things do go a little bit wrong to make things happen, and it can turn into a pretty amazing experience for people and quite memorable as well.
Oh, it's like Chambers.
Definitely.
When she
Cool.
thanks to Chambers, we flew 53 people over from Franz Josef to Mount Cook.
That's right, in
Yeah.
both ski plane and heli.
Yeah, 53,
and then bus them
and it was
to
only it was
Queenstown.
Chambers, and we all helped each other, and it was amazing. It was, and they got about it. How much would that cost? $1,000? I mean, if they had to do a scenic flight,
and that, and some.
straight over from Franz Josef, straight in over Mount Cook, down into Mount Cook Village. Oh my God.
It would be 500. It was back then was $550 to do per person. So per heli, per plane to do that flight. So yeah, and we were only, I think it was 190, I think, or something. I gave you that rate.
We just charge us by the hour.
Oh yeah, we won't go into that. You charge to keep your own thing. But anyway, yeah, whatever.
What I love most in everything is that we all helped each other. That whole thing in Franz Josef, we all talked to so many.
Yeah.
Martin Horgan was there. A lot of people were in Fox, but I love that's what I like about the tourism industry. It goes back to what we were saying earlier, that we do work together. And that's one of the most important things about our industry.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Chambers, let's get on to you, because we've alluded to your massive year. I don't even know where to start on the highlights, but let's start firstly with your new role. So you have started at Cairns Adventure Group as Chief Marketing Officer. Congratulations. How's that going?
Yeah, good. It's great. It's great to be back in at an executive level for starters, and in the decision seat is another great thing that I very similar to. I was going to say very similar to the role I last did in New Zealand, but probably not, because I don't have to deal with any of the operational side. That's great. My GM does all of that, so thank Christ. But yeah, it's good to be looking after the revenue team. And look, we've got a suite of amazing products. It's also really interesting because obviously my last role was very reef focused, and one of the main reasons people come to Cairns is the Great Barrier Reef. So to work in a business where literally we're the secondary choice, if that, maybe the third day choice, is, I think that's where there's some real opportunity and traction to get that through, and how you work with that. So you're not like competing against necessarily, well, luckily for us, we're not actually competing. We haven't got huge amounts of competitors. Some of our tours we do, but not all. So yeah, it's just really interesting working in that space again, and actually getting my marketing brain back on, which is good. I'm really enjoying that creative side. So yeah, it's great. I love it. And I love working for a private owner and being right there, being able to nut out some ideas. But look, I don't want that to sound any way disrespectful to the amazing experience I had at Experience Co. Like, I really did learn so much being involved in a corporate environment, especially a really corporate environment, an Australian ASX listed corporate environment. And I think some of the skills and the lessons I learned being there will set me apart from everyone else moving forward. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, awesome. And look, we'll put a little bit of a plug in. You've also got yourself involved in another podcast in Cairns.
I have, and that's funny you mention it, because we mentioned Destinate NZ on our podcast. our Christmas one.
Well, we
So,
are called the
yes.
Tourism Chat Show now, but you know.
You are. Sorry. Yes, I think I do. Actually, sorry, Michelle. I think I do actually call you the Tourism Chat Show. But yeah, no, I do have a new podcast, Inside Down Under. That's what it's called, and it's all about Australian tourism. Look, it started off, we've interviewed quite a few legends, and we've had some great stories about where they've ended up, and really similar to your John Gregory's, your Garth Oakdens, and your Adele here, that we've shown those stories and told those stories. We're definitely looking to expand more outside of Queensland, because we feel it's very Queensland centric. We've done a few outside of it, but there are a lot of legends in Queensland when it comes to tourism over here. But we're just all the three of us are going to sit down and look at how that podcast is going to go moving forward. Just like you've rebranded and you've had a bit of a think about where your strategy is going and what you're going to do on this amazing podcast. We're going to do the same, and we'll see what comes out next year. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun getting us all together and talking about that. So watch this space. But thank you for the plug.
You're very welcome. And I'll even put a link to your show on our episode.
We will do the same for our Christmas one.
If anybody wants to tune in and hear Lisa's beautiful voice, once again, you can on a regular basis on the Inside Down Under podcast. So, John, while you're sipping on your bourbon there, now just for our listeners' sake, we are recording this quite late at night. It's getting towards 9 o'clock. So I'm conscious that we're keeping everybody awake, and particularly with me with my COVID brain at the moment. But if you could sum up your ideal 2025 in one sentence, John, what would that be?
Just want to point out it's Scotch, not bourbon. The one sentence, steady as she goes.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. What about you, Garth?
Time out.
Time out.
Yeah, just some time out.
Yeah.
So yep, we're going good, but some time out. Some time out for me. That's the aim.
Good. Okay. I look forward to you blocking that out of your diary. And Del, what's your 2025
looking
gonna
after
look like?
each other, looking out for each other and looking after each other. And I mean competitors, suppliers, everybody. Let's just do what we did during the pandemic, where we did do that, and carry on, help each other, because we're only a small country. We should all be fighting together to get people in, and because
Okay. That's more than one sentence, Del.
And I'm in the dark. It's getting too now.
Yeah.
What about you, Chambers? I'll throw to you.
Ours is going to be one sentence: growth and diversification in markets.
Nice. So it sounds like you've all got some pretty good plans sorted for next year. Hopefully that will all come up. Now, Garth, you mentioned time out, and you are going to take some time out. So if you could teleport to any destination for a holiday right now, where would you go and why?
Somewhere with no service. so no one can get hold of me.
Anywhere, it doesn't matter. Just no cell phone service.
Just anywhere with no coverage.
Yep. Excellent. And what's one thing on your personal or professional bucket list for 2025, Mr. Gregory?
That's commercially sensitive.
You must have something more than that.
I don't even have a comeback for that. It's just John obviously didn't get that far on the list of questions.
No, look, honestly, if I was to do something this year, to travel somewhere, or bucket list, it would be definitely to go to Stewart Island. I've spent a little bit of time there. But
I went there with you in August.
Yeah, it's never enough.
And you broke my leg.
Yeah, well, you have to take responsibility for your own slippery hills, Michelle. Look, I would love to go there. I think it's just stunning, remote. I would, if I had the chance, go with Stewart Island helicopters, and they're amazing. They can be contacted on info@stewarthelicopters.com.
Okay, I'll send them the
numbers.
Voice for the advertising, but no, they're
0800
great operators.
234 890.
No, they're fabulous. I absolutely loved my helicopter flight over Stewart Island. So, yep, I'm happy to endorse that. That's great. What about you, Chambers? Have you got anything on your bucket list for 2025?
Well, that's all booked and planned. I think I'm off to Japan skiing again. So,
nice.
Really looking forward to that. And then Lady Elliot Island in September with a group of us. There's about, I think it's about 16 of us going there. So, and I believe my brother's coming over for it too. So we're going to go diving and do some great stuff there. So yeah, but I think for me, professionally, I'm really looking forward to doing some fun stuff with the business and seeing where it takes us.
Yep. Cool. And Del, you're sitting there in the dark because you do have a power cut in Tauranga, but if you could teleport to any other destination for a holiday right now, where would it be?
I was going to say my swimming pool, but that's not any other destination. I even got a bottle of pina colada because I just want to have a break. So I thought I'll go down to my swimming pool and I'll pretend I'm in Fiji. And I've got my pina colada that I bought from Queenstown, plugged for Queenstown, remarkable, whatever. And I'll get my books and I'll have and I'm just going to lie there and pretend I can't see the weeds and all those kind of things. That's what I was going to do over Christmas. The one place I really want to go is Bolivia in South America. I've got a friend that's been there. It looks amazing. And also Patagonia. But I don't think that'll be next year, to be fair. But if I had a bucket list, it has to be a holiday because there's no work over there. So, if I'm anywhere at the moment, I want to go there. There you go. But my pool will be fine with my pina colada bottle, which will last about 2 days.
That'll be me next weekend, actually, beside the pool and in the sunshine on the Sunshine Coast. So, look, we'll just quickly wrap up. Ranking out of 10 for your year, John.
Oh, it's a solid 10. Got to be positive.
Excellent. Chambers?
Oh, it has to be a 10.
You're about a 12, I'd say.
I think so. I think, yeah, off the scale.
Oh, brilliant. What about you, Garth?
No, we're sitting at a 10. Definite 10.
Yeah,
I'm with
awesome.
you. I'm with you guys. 10. I'll take it.
Oh, geez. I'm so impressed because you know why I asked that question? I actually found some Facebook memories the other day and I'd given last year a 6.5 out of 10. So it got me thinking on how I thought this year had gone for me. And I landed on about 8.5, which I thought was really good. So now I'm feeling really miserable against all of you. I'm here with my perfect 10s, mates.
So thanks
for that, guys. Thanks.
Michelle, I have a question.
Hey, look, thank you.
What's your plans for next year?
Go for it, Del.
2025.
Oh, well done, Adele.
Oh, my plans. I've got some big plans for next year. I don't know if I can talk about them all on the podcast, but look, let's just say that this year has been an amazing year for Destinate. I've rebranded. I've had a slightly different change in focus. I've started, looking to Australia for some potential work out of there. I've partnered with an amazing PR consultant who I've worked with for the last nearly 20 years. So together we can offer a full service tourism marketing and media management package. But yeah, watch this space. There's going to be a lot happening. And thanks for that plug, guys. Happy for everybody to come over and follow me on my socials and you'll see exactly what I get up to. But look, it's been really fun catching up with you guys. And I have no idea what you're all drinking in the background there, especially you, Del. I'm a little bit intrigued by what you're sitting there drinking in the dark, but thanks for joining me. Wish you all a very Merry Christmas to all of our listeners. We've had an amazing year and I was going to pull out some stats for the podcast, but just haven't had a chance to do that. But some of the countries that people are listening in from is pretty amazing. And I might get into that in the new year because there were some countries there that I just did not expect. And Israel, shout out, I can't remember her name, but there was a buyer who came to Trends who came to find me. Israel sits in our top 6.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Which is pretty awesome. So, and I think that's her and her boss listening in every week. So yeah, it's really cool to have everybody join us. And obviously we love sharing the stories of the tourism industry to the world. And we will continue to do that. We've got some great guests lined up for next year. And I might not keep doing weekly episodes next year. We may go to fortnightly just to lighten the load a little bit, but we are still committed to pulling out some great content and guests for you to all listen into. So Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks, Michelle.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Cheers, everyone.
And we'll see you
Thanks,
in 2025.
Woo.
Have a good day.
Alina.